I live in a small town where everyone knows everyone else, and it's rare for something out of the ordinary to happen. That's why what I experienced a few weeks ago still gives me the chills just thinking about it. It was a Tuesday night around 9 p.m. when my phone buzzed with a notification from my Ring Doorbell app. Expecting it to be a neighbor or a late delivery, I casually tapped to view the live feed. What I saw wasn't a friendly face or a misplaced Amazon package. Instead, there was a man standing at the very edge of my front porch just out of the main light's reach. He was still, eerily still, and his head was tilted in a way that seemed unnatural, almost bird-like. His gaze was fixed directly at the camera, as if he knew I was watching. I couldn't see his eyes clearly, but I felt them piercing through the screen right at me. At first, I thought it might be a prank. Maybe someone from around town thought it would be funny to scare me, but the longer I watched, the less funny it seemed. The man hadn't moved an inch. He was dressed in a tattered jacket and his hair was wild and unkempt. It wasn't anyone I recognized, which only added to my growing anxiety. I decided to speak through the camera. "Can I help you?" My voice echoed slightly through the phone speaker. There was a pause. The night was silent except for the distant barking of a dog. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was wide and disturbing, revealing a set of discolored teeth, and it sent a shiver down my spine. Instead of answering, he took a single step forward, closer to the camera, his face now fully illuminated by the porch light. That's when I saw it clearly. His eyes. There was something wrong with them. He still didn't speak. He just stood there with a grotesque smile. I quickly locked all the doors and considered calling the police, but then he turned around and walked away, disappearing into the darkness of the street. The normalcy with which he left made me second guess whether I should involve the police. Maybe he was just confused or lost. I decided to wait, hoping it was an isolated incident. But it wasn't. The next night, he came back. It was later this time, just past midnight. My phone alerted me once again, and there he was, standing in the same spot as before, staring into the camera. This time, he spoke. His voice was raspy, barely above a whisper. "I see you," he said, and then he placed something on my doorstep, still never taking his eyes off the camera. As soon as he walked away, I rushed to the door to see what he'd left. It was dumb because who knew if he was still out there nearby, but I had to see what it was. It was a small, dirty doll with a missing eye and a note attached to it. The note was just a series of scribbled lines that I couldn't make out. This was too much. I finally called the police. When they arrived, I showed them the footage and gave them the doll and the note. They promised to patrol the area and looked into it. They suggested he might be a homeless person or someone suffering from mental health issues, perhaps harmless but clearly troubled. The visits didn't stop. Almost every night at different times, he would appear. Each time, he would leave something different. A piece of old newspaper, a rusty key, a torn photograph of a place I couldn't recognize. The police were monitoring my house by then, but somehow he always managed to come and go without being seen by anyone but my camera. This happened for a few more nights until it suddenly stopped. The police nor I never knew why he was doing this or even who he was. Even now, I'm still cautious and paranoid, especially at night, afraid he might come back. It was weird that he never tried to force his way in, just leaving items for me at the door. I don't know why he chose this house or me, but hopefully he never comes back. It was just an ordinary Wednesday evening, not much different from any other. My daughter Emily and I were finishing up our dinner, talking about her day at school, when my phone pinged with a notification. It was from the Ring doorbell camera, alerting me that someone was at the door. I assumed it was just another delivery or maybe a neighbor stopping by. I checked the app, expecting the usual, but instead, I saw a little girl standing on my front porch. She was about Emily's age, maybe 8 or 9, wearing a plain white dress that seemed a bit too light for the chilly weather. Her hair was long and black, covering most of her face as she looked down, not moving, just standing there. I thought she might be lost or perhaps one of Emily's school friends, although I didn't recognize her. "Who is it, Dad?" Emily asked, sensing my hesitation. "I'm not sure, sweetie. There's a little girl at the door. Let me go see what she needs. Maybe she's lost." I opened the door slowly, peering out into the dim evening light. "Hello there, can I help you?" I asked gently. The girl looked up, and I caught a glimpse of her eyes. They were unsettling, dark, almost completely black, which gave me a slight shiver. "I'm looking for someone," she said in a soft, eerie voice that didn't seem to match her small frame. "Who are you looking for? Maybe I can help you find them," I replied, trying to keep my tone friendly. "I think you know who," she said cryptically, then looked past me into the house. Confused and a little worried, I glanced back at Emily, who was now standing at the end of the hallway, peering curiously towards the door. "Do you know this girl, Emily?" I asked. Emily shook her head, her eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and caution. "No, Daddy, I've never seen her before." I turned back to the little girl. "Are you sure you're at the right house? What's your name?" She didn't answer my question. Instead, she stepped closer, just to the threshold of the door. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. I felt a chill run down my spine. Everything about this felt wrong. "I'm sorry, but it's getting late. Maybe I can call someone for you? Your parents?" The girl didn't respond. She just stood there, staring at me with those deep, dark eyes. It was incredibly unsettling, and I began to feel a genuine sense of dread. I decided it was time to end this strange interaction. "I think you should go home now. It's getting dark, and your parents must be worried," I said firmly. As I began to close the door, she spoke again. "You'll see me again soon." Her voice was calm, but carried a threatening undertone. With that, I shut the door quickly and locked it, peering through the peephole. She stood there for a moment longer, then turned and walked slowly down the street until she disappeared from view. I rushed back to the living room where Emily was waiting, her expression one of confusion and fear. "Is she gone, Daddy?" "Yes, she's gone," I reassured her, trying to hide my own unease. "Let's not worry about it. How about we watch a movie together?" Emily nodded, and we settled on the couch with a blanket and some popcorn, trying to shift our attention to lighter matters. But I couldn't shake the feeling of that girl's presence, her eyes, and her chilling words. Later that night, after Emily had gone to bed, I checked the footage from the Ring camera. There was nothing unusual there, just the girl standing at the door, then turning and walking away. But it didn't reassure me. If anything, it made the whole incident feel even more real and more alarming. I couldn't sleep well that night. Every little noise seemed amplified, and a few times I got up to check the doors and windows, making sure they were still locked and secure. In the silence of the night, my mind replayed the girl's words. "You'll see me again soon." The next few days were uneventful, but the memory of the visit didn't fade. Emily seemed to sense my anxiety, and I often asked if the girl would come back. I reassured her as best as I could, but the truth was, I was dreading the possibility myself. Exactly a week later, my phone pinged again with another notification from the Ring camera. It was late, around the same time as before. My heart sank as I tapped the app, now wanting to see who was there. It was her again, the same little girl standing in the same spot, looking directly at the camera this time. I didn't go to the door. Instead, I called the police, explaining that a child kept showing up at my house late at night and it was concerning. They promised to send someone over to check. By the time the officers arrived, she was gone again. They drove around the neighborhood but found no sign of her. They suggested she might be a child from a troubled home or maybe even a ghost story come to life, a joke that wasn't funny at the moment. The visits continued, always once a week, always at the same time. Each time she would ask to come in, each time I would refuse. I installed additional cameras, but they captured nothing else unusual. The police began patrolling the area during her usual visiting hours, but it didn't deter her. Eventually, I began to feel like we were trapped in a cycle, a nightmare that repeated itself with no end. Each visit chipped away at the normalcy of our lives, leaving me and Emily increasingly anxious and isolated. I don't know who she is or what she wants, but her words echo in my mind during the quiet moments, a haunting promise of an unending cycle. "You'll see me again soon," and somehow I know we will. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon when I first noticed him. I was lounging around in my living room, half watching a game on TV and half scrolling through my phone when a ping alerted me to someone at my front door. Glancing at my Ring app, I saw a young man standing on my porch. He was dressed in a neat polo shirt, the kind you see on retail staff or service workers, clutching a clipboard. He rang the bell and I got up to answer, curious about who he might be. As I opened the door, he flashed a broad, salesperson-like smile. "Good afternoon. I hope I'm not disturbing you. My name is Jack and I'm here to talk about the benefits of installing solar panels. Have you ever considered switching to solar energy?" I hadn't thought much about solar panels, honestly. I was more interested in getting back to my lazy Sunday routine. "I'm not really interested, but thanks for stopping by," I said, starting to close the door. "Oh, but sir, if you just give me a few minutes, I can show you how much you could save. It's really quite incredible," Jack persisted, his foot subtly blocking the door. Slightly annoyed but also partly impressed by his persistence, I let the door stay open. "All right, 2 minutes," I conceded. Jack beamed and began his pitch. He talked about the environment, savings, and how easy they were to install. His words were rehearsed but effective, peppered with impressive figures and promises of future savings. I listened, nodding along, but my mind was still on the game I was missing. As he wrapped up, I thanked him and started to excuse myself, but he didn't seem to take the hint. Instead, he asked if he could leave me with some literature to look over. When I agreed, he dug through his bag for a brochure, giving me a long spiel about each page as he did so. By now, I was really looking to end the conversation, so I took the brochure and assured him I'd think it over. "Great, I'll check back with you soon. Have a great day," he said, finally stepping back. I shut the door and went back to my couch. I figured that was the last I'd see of Jack, but I was wrong. Later that evening, as I was making dinner, my phone pinged again. I motioned at the front door. I checked the app, expecting maybe another salesman or a neighbor, but it was Jack again. He was just standing there, looking around, clipper still in hand. Puzzled, I spoke to the camera. "Can I help you with something else, Jack?" He seemed startled, looking directly at the camera. "Oh, hey! No, I was just checking some details. Sorry to bother you." He waved awkwardly and left. It was odd, but I shrugged it off and went about my evening. Over the next few hours, though, my phone kept alerting me. Each time, it was Jack, coming back to the porch, standing there for a few minutes and then leaving. It became increasingly unsettling. After the fourth alert, I went to the door, opened it, and looked out. Jack was standing at the curb, looking at my house. "Hey, Jack, is there a problem? Why do you keep coming back?" He seemed nervous, shifting his weight from one foot to another. "I'm so sorry, sir. I think I might have dropped a very important document around here. Have you seen any papers lying around?" I hadn't, and I told him so. He apologized and left again. But about an hour later, there he was again on my porch, captured by the Ring camera. This was too much. I called the police non-emergency number, explaining the situation. They said they sent a patrol car to check it out. When the police arrived, Jack was once again standing near my property. They talked to him, checked his ID, and eventually asked him to leave the area. He apologized again, this time to the officers, and left without further incident. I thought that was the end of it, but every Sunday for the next month, my Ring camera would catch Jack standing on the sidewalk across the street, just staring at my house. He never came onto that property, just stood there, watching. I continued to report these incidents, but since he wasn't technically on my property or breaking any laws, there was little anyone could do. His presence became a haunting routine. Eventually, Jack stopped coming. I didn't know if it was the repeated police visits or perhaps he moved on to a new area, but I was relieved. The incident left me wary of door-to-door salesmen, and I never opened my door for one again. I'm not sure of what Jack's intentions were. Some of my family members thought he was trying to case the house or rob me, but I will never know the real reason.